You were on Fox earlier today, and you said, I believe I'm quoting you correctly, you said, "I've heard through other channels that the president loves me."
Yes, I have heard. I have heard from multiple people, the president loves me. I love that. I mean, it's great. I know that I'm on his radar. I think that he's watching this closely.
President Trump loves me. Dr. Kelli Ward is backed by former Donald Trump top advisor Steve Bannon and has been angling for an endorsement from President Trump. All she's got so far is a very nice tweet. Now, Ward, who is already in the Senate primary, claims she took out a sitting senator in their primary, which won't take place for another 10 months, but she took him out. Any rivals who come in, she told me last week, would not measure up to Jeff Flake. So, Barrett, good thing or bad thing for Kelli Ward that Jeff Flake is out of the race?
Horrible thing, because when it was her against Jeff Flake, she could at least make the case about, Jeff Flake is, the anti-Trump and the never-Trumper, and I'm with Trump, and Trump is eventually going to support me, though he hasn't. And so a one-on-one battle would have been her best opportunity. Now there will be people in the race who don't have the Flake baggage. And she has all the baggage in the world.
Chad, good thing, bad thing?
No, I agree with him. I think that Flake was her foil. He was kind of her scapegoat. And quite frankly, she could divert attention to that and stay away from the fact that she believed in chemtrails and all the other crazy theories she worked on over the years in the legislature. So, the focus is now back on her and what she believes in, and that's very problematic for Kelli Ward. Okay, let's get a list of her potential Republican rivals as of now, as we sit here, that we know of. Jay Heiler, member of the Arizona Board of Regents, but a first-time candidate. He's formed an exploratory committee, don't know why. But he's backed by former Governor Jan Brewer and also some big money on his side. Congresswoman Martha McSally of Tucson is taking steps toward getting in the race, perhaps the only member of our Republican delegation who will do that. Former Arizona Republican Party chairman and Trump's Arizona campaign chair, Robert Graham, told CNN he'll likely get in, then he kind of backed down from that. And I'm told former Congressman Matt Salmon is looking at the race. The Trump team wooed him during the summer, but he passed on taking on Jeff Flake. Am I leaving anybody out?
Oh, I think there's several people still looking at it. People like Maricopa County Supervisor Bill Gates, giving it some serious consideration. He's got people calling him. He's got, let's face it, he's got great name ID.
Yeah, below the desk.
He's also got good conservative credentials, so he's going to give a look at it. Mark Brnovich obviously has been talked about. Doug Ducey is getting calls.
He's not going to do this.
I don't believe he will. But there was a poll in the field that showed that he had the best name ID. And he still had a little bit of negatives, but he had the best name and the best chance.
Governor
of
Ducey.
On Sinema.
Okay, well, his folks have said hard no.
Absolutely. I can't see him running.
He's not doing that.
Yep.
So, who has the edge in that field?
Well, again, from the Democratic perspective that I have, looking at the GOP primary nowadays, I still think that a moderate, quote unquote, is going to have a hard time getting through a GOP primary. And so when you look at that field, I'm not sure who the most moderate candidate is. But again, I think they're all going to have to move to the right, which is going to hurt them in the general election regardless. And so I still think that, Congresswoman Sinema, when we get, I know we're going to talk about that, when we get to her general election, she's going to have a very good shot at this seat still.
I think it would be an incredible, epic battle, one that Arizona has never really seen, to have Kyrsten Sinema and Martha McSally, two driven women who can fundraise like no one has ever seen practically in Arizona. These two women would be an amazing fight, I think we would see, and it's something voters actually deserve.
And
some clear
if that happened, it would give Arizona its first female U.S. senator in our 106-year history by next year. Interesting thing about McSally, she's viewed as a squish among conservatives.
And yet she votes, it was a reliable conservative vote. And I think that she has upended a lot of things in her career. She upended the Pentagon, and she came in as a disruptor.
But here's my thing. How do Republicans in that primary navigate Trump?
And I don't know, and that's the question. And I think we just talked about this with Flake. I mean, when you look at Flake's voting record, there's nobody more conservative than Jeff Flake for the most part. So to your point about McSally, when I talk to people I know that are on the farther right end of the spectrum, they don't like McSally. They don't think she truly believes in what they believe in. And I think she's going to have a very tough fight in that primary. And again, if Steve Bannon sticks with Kelli Ward, which, you know, he's given no indication he won't, there's a lot of money behind the Bannon machine, and a lot of that angry voter that Flake talks about.
I want to get to
Bannon.
Sinema before we run out of time here. Okay, Kyrsten, Sinema, was this sudden free-for-all on the Republican side good thing or bad thing for Sinema?
Well, I think it remains to be seen, because it really ultimately depends on who comes out of that primary. I will say this about Kyrsten Sinema, though. I've known Congresswoman Sinema for 20 years. We served together in the legislature. To Barrett's point, she's the best fundraiser in the state, probably, especially on the Democratic side. She's the hardest worker in the state when it comes to politics. And she's probably the smartest person in politics in Arizona. And I can guarantee you her team around her, they gamed this out. They knew this was a possibility. And I can promise you they're prepared for it. And she will give this a very good campaign.
Barrett, good or bad thing for Sinema?
Probably bad. She was counting on Chemtrail Kelly or Wounded Flake. And now neither of them will happen. And now she's going to have to go against maybe a Republican who has brought together all ends of the party. You know.
Whoa!
I'm gonna see a unicorn later today.
I'm saving that prediction.
Yeah, I'm gonna see a unicorn later today.
I said possibly. I didn't say it would happen.
All right, Barrett Marson, Chad Campbell, thanks so much for joining us. When we come back, Secretary of State Michelle Reagan's staff didn't tell her for almost 3 weeks that her office was breaking election law. She found out somewhere else. Stay with us.